Nachi, welcome to the show. I'm going to introduce you as the Seforim aficionado, the Seforim buff and maven. And the first question I want to ask you is how you came up with the name Seforim Chatter, the name of your famous, legendary, and widely popular Seforim Torah podcast.
Thank you, Michal, for having me on your podcast. So the name Seforim Chatter is interesting. It started off with, for those who remember, it's like a if you know type of thing. I had J Music Chatter. At that point, I was interested in Jewish music, and there was this J Music Chatter channel, if you will, a Twitter account. It was not much of anything. And because of that, I decided that, there's no new Seforim. No one's really posting about new Seforim. So I said, I'll start something about Seforim. And I took the name and I just said Seforim Chatter. Now, how did I come up with the name J Music Chatter? I don't know. It's a good question. It's just like one of those names that...
What's J Music Chatter?
It doesn't exist anymore. You won't find it. Like I said, if you remember it, you remember it. I used to post about Jewish music on Twitter way back in the day, many years ago. So Seforim Chatter was just...
Wait, no. I want to hear, because part of the reason I like to start with that initial question when I just say, what's the name of your podcast? Why'd you get to Seforim Chatter? Because I like to do that before I actually introduce you. So that's like the hook at the beginning. We bring everyone in. And now, Nachi, you are world famous. You are, you bring to the Torah world and the broader wisdom seeking world something that is unique, something that, from a yeshiva boy to a 65-year-old Baal Tshuva surgeon, they're really interested in. I've even heard there's somebody that's a fan of yours in Norfolk, Virginia, who listens to you while he's swimming. He has waterproof headphones. And he said that while I spent many years in yeshiva, I've learned more about Judaism from, not my rabbis, but from Nachi and the Seforim Chatter podcast. High praise there. So I think that we can bring a really unique aspect here. There are people that like and know the Seforim Chatter podcast. They can now know a little bit more. Tell us how you actually started the show. Elaborate for a second. Just what is the Jewish music Twitter? How you decided to then go into Seforim? What was the first episode? Just give us 2 to 3 minutes about that, because I think it'll be fascinating.
Sure, absolutely. So, like I said, the name came just from happenstance from the Jewish music thing. Now, the podcast is like this. When I started Seforim Chatter, it was a Twitter account posting new Seforim, and eventually it became new books, academic books, Jewish history books, or not books like novels, but I was posting books from Torah Thought, from Art Scroll and Feldheim and Mosaica Press and Koren, and then gradually academic books. So Magnus and Bialik and Bar Ilan University and so on in Israel. And then here, Princeton and Yale and so on, academic books. Now, it was just, that's literally what it was. I've been a podcast listener for many years, going back to 2010.
What was the first podcast you listened to?
There was sports podcasts.
So Colin Cowherd?
No, not a Steelers fan. I'm a Steelers fan. There were Steelers podcasts. So that's what I was listening to back in the day. But not well before most people were listening to podcasts. Certainly, it was less popular than it is now. And so I always wanted to do a podcast. Actually, a year before. So, okay, let's fast forward. So now Seforim Chatter, I start this Twitter account. We're in 2016, 2017, somewhere over there. And a couple of years later, I decided I want to do a podcast. And I had a couple of different ideas how I was going to do it. Was I going to have a co-host? Was it going to be, I wasn't sure. Was it going to be new Seforim, old Seforim, rapid fire style, in-depth style? I wasn't sure how it was going to go. I actually recorded 1 or 2 clips. One day maybe I'll release it from the archive. They were unfinished, and they were going to be the Seforim Chatter podcast. It wasn't going to be what it is today, but I had this idea. I put that aside. I was studying for the LSAT, getting ready for law school. Things happened. COVID happened. I didn't get a chance to do it. But at the beginning of COVID, everyone was inside about 6 years ago, right? And so I decided, you know what? Let me just go record. At that point, Seforim Chatter was anonymous. People knew who I was, but I hadn't shown my face. I didn't say my name wasn't there publicly.
How many followers did you have at that time?
About 1,000, maybe a little more. But
it's a big number.
I think the numbers in those days of Twitter, those were real. Like if you had 1,000, it was 1,000. It wasn't AI bots or whatever. It was real numbers. Twitter was a big matzif.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm going to go and I'm going to record a podcast. And the first podcast episode was just me talking about Seforim. I think there was the new Shem Agdalim then of the Haggadah, which is his bibliographic work. It was from Machon Amar put out. There was a sefer called Ein Labina, Rabbi Yaakov Emden. It was Rabbi Yaakov Emden's marginal comments on his Kreska Douglas, which is in the British Library, I believe. And so there was a new edition of that. And he had meant it as a safer. So Aim Lapid, a new edition. The first edition, rather, came out for manuscript. And so that was the first podcast. I did another one. It was done live on Twitter, like the worst way to jump, a podcaster, jump right live. And then the third episode, I had my good friend Israel Mizrahi Books in Brooklyn. I had him on as a guest. I had on David Bashevkin, a couple other people.
How many episodes are you up to now?
Now we're up to over 450 episodes. So, and that's not including ones that are recorded. I probably, including the recorded unreleased ones, are about over 500, probably around 500. So this was a lot. Yeah, this was, but at the time it was just record and release. I was recording them live, and it started off doing, again, interviews and so on. So that's really how it started. And then that's really where we are today. And by the way, today I'll say it's still on Twitter, but mostly more or less I'm on now WhatsApp. There's a WhatsApp community, new books, new Seforim book deals, and so on. That's really, and there's a WhatsApp status and so on.
How do you support the show? I mean, in order to, I know that there costs subscriptions in order to host a podcast. There are subscriptions that you need in order to edit a podcast, in order to have video and to have audio and to have production and to have editing. You foot the bill yourself, or you raise money?
So I'll tell you, when I started it, there was very little editing. There was very little of anything involved. I didn't even have a mic. Like I had nothing. I literally just started using my phone, and I had a Mac, and I just used my computer, recording into my computer. Eventually, yes, got equipment and so on. There also is subscription costs. I mean, they're not, as you know, astronomical, but there were subscription costs. But again, yes, and throughout, it was just me. Now, the podcast in the beginning, didn't make any money. Like the Twitter account for years didn't make any money. I mean, it's only later and more recently where I'm an Amazon affiliate, and some of the publishers, ArtScroll, Mosaic, Akoran, they're affiliates, so you post links, and that's displayed on the Seforim Chatter website, on the Seforim Chatter website, the description that it's an affiliate. Use a link, you might earn a commission, as you have to do. So it says it there. There are generous sponsors. There are those that really are appreciative, enjoy the podcast. Gluck Plumbing, give them a shout out, and some others, as well as there are those that want to just support the show, and there are those that want to advertise the product. But I tell this to people often, and I'll say it here: you start a podcast, something that you're interested in and good at, and you have a niche, and then eventually, if you're good at it, there's enough of listeners, you'll make money. But don't go into like, I'm going to create a podcast to make money. I don't think
Totally. And when I started, I also started during COVID. COVID was really bad for a lot of people, and it caused a lot of deaths. But I got married during COVID with 25 people, 30 people at my wedding. Actually, the whole world shut down. I moved back to Virginia. I was in Shidduchim for a year. Ended up marrying somebody in Virginia after a year in Shidduchim running around. Got married. The world still was shut down. Moved back to Lakewood. I wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael, but of course it was closed. Moved back to Lakewood, got back into the kollel, and by the time that the world opened up again, I was married. I think I already had a kid, and anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I digress. But I started a podcast because for that exact reason. Not that I wanted followers, and I would love to make money on it, but because I actually had another similar idea where I loved to create obligations for myself. So let me go ahead and pop open a microphone, and I would say a Devar Torah and send it out on WhatsApp. And some people liked it, some people didn't. Eventually, I figured out that if you could just master your website and SEO and share with the right people and mess with the algorithms, even if you have nothing to say and you're a brutal, unlearned Amaretz, you still can become viral and, tell your friends to hit the like and subscribe button. You can learn all about it. But to this day, there are episodes that will have a lot of views and a lot of listens, and some will have barely any, except for my mom and my grandma, who should live and be well, the biggest fans. But I would still do it even if nobody listened, because I want to either interview someone because I love to learn, or because I want to preach some idea or something. Anyway, what's your favorite episode you ever recorded? Favorite episode, and no hard feelings. It doesn't have to be a rabbi. It doesn't have to be an academic person. It could be male. It could be female. It could be right wing. It could be left wing. The most enjoyable podcast episode you ever recorded.
I still go back to the first episode of Matt Goldish and Shopsite Tzvi series. I think that series is really what launched Seforim Chatter in a way to the wider public with the Shopsite Tzvi series. I still got comments on it. That was the first big series we did on Seforim Chatter, and I had a lot of fun preparing for that, recording that. I still remember talking to where I was when I was speaking to Matt Goldish before I even recorded that episode. Someone suggested I reach out to Matt Goldish, do an episode of Shopsite Tzvi. Did so. He's a great guy, a friend of mine now, and that was a really, I would say that's the still number one.
To Shopsite Tzvi, can we say it's interesting? I mean, you must have spent hours on it, Did he just have schizophrenia or just probably had a
Bipolar.
brutal case of bipolar OCD-ism?
Yeah, you read Gershom Scholem. You can listen to the series and read Gershom Scholem's 1,000-page biography, essentially. There's
Uh-huh.
much more to the story than that, but if you just
And you record everything from your house? You live in Lakewood?
live in Lakewood, recorded from my house. Now, most of them, as we're doing it here over Riverside.fm, used to be over Zoom back in the day. It was poor audio quality. And I do some in person now, though. So I did one today in person. So sometimes we do, especially the small talks, very often. So
I'm not. Yeah, we don't need to elaborate. I'm sure the audience knows about your small talks, your long talks. How many is it now? I'm trying to keep up, but I started from the first episode, and I'm trying to work my way forward. I forget how far in I got. What small talks are daily, weekly?
Small talk is every Wednesday. Those are they're supposed to be 20 minutes or less. Recently, I've been very strict about that. Tried to cut it down. For a while, they crept up a little bit longer. They're really focused on a book. It's very short. The questions are, really tell a listener about your book. What's your book about? What are your sources? Give some examples. Who's the book meant for? What are you trying to accomplish with the book? And so on. They're very book focused. It's easier for me to prepare for. There's much less prep involved and so on. Those are on Wednesday. Sunday are the long form episodes.
Love it. I love it. Weekly. I look forward to it. I listen in the car. Audio podcast is such a good avenue, right? And especially with 24/6. Do you get most of your listens down with 24/6?
That's a good question. I think it's still Apple far and away.
Far and away. Interesting. So for audio, for me, it's harder to get to rank for some of these words that I'm trying to rank for, like Parshas Vayakel Pekude, or rank for inspirational Torah that'll make me happy. Like ranking for that on Spotify is very hard. On Apple Podcasts, it's interesting. I could not rank without paying money for some of the words Torah and Parsha and Musar, but I rank for Rav Gamliel Rabinovich, the great Gadol. Why? One time we mentioned him in an episode of Vart, he said, and ultimately AI algorithm picked up on it, and now we rank like number 1 or 2 for Rav Gamliel. So you never know how exactly you're going to be picked up. So you do everything by yourself. Nobody helps you.
No, I also do the editing by myself. In the beginning, I didn't edit much. Now I do edit. I will say I want to give a shout out to Usher Tesser of Control A. He helped me.
What's Control A? Who's Usher?
That's Usher Tesser. That's his company. So he does now with a lot of restaurant stuff here in Lakewood, but he did some work with podcasts, and so he helped me with my music. He was like, we're friends, and he was like, Nachi, you got to get some intro music. You need to get some cover artwork for some series. So we did add some special effects, so to speak. But I think, and I still think this, and I improved my audio quality using Riverside.fm versus Zoom, using proper microphones.
Oh, you switched over. You started Riverside?
Yeah, Riverside Riverside been 3 years already. But wow. I do think at the end of the day, it's all about the content. And this is the feedback that I get, right? Of course, listeners want a crisp, good audio experience. They want music. They want a cool cover artwork. But that's gravy. It needs to be good content, good guest. The host should come prepared, should be a good and interesting topic. And that's what works at the end of the day. Those are the episodes with certain guests or certain topics. The numbers are much higher than the other ones.
That's it. Cash is king and content is king. That's it. We'll listen to a well-informed superstar analyst with their microphone on their iPhone over the most incredible. People always, I don't know if they ask you, do you get questions like, hey, I want to start a podcast. What microphone should I buy? Do you get questions like that or something?
Sometimes, but even then, let's say I'm using a short microphone. I mean, so it's $200, $300 depending on you buy. I mean, it's not an astronomical cost to buy.
You can start with $19.99.
Yeah. I have I use pod mics also for the guest. Pod mic is $99. Great mic. So yeah, again, the point is you should get good equipment. You should be well prepared. You should have a good laptop. But
how many Seforim do you have in your Seforim collection? You're sitting in this cool library. How many Seforim do you have?
First of all, what qualifies as a sefer? Are we talking about only Seforim? What about academic books?
This is like my dad. My dad always said. I asked him a question.
Explain.
I asked my dad a question. I was like, "Well, explain exactly what you want." I want you to elaborate upon your brilliant and sprawling and diverse collection.
Okay, so I'm in my library. I have a study downstairs with a more classical Sfarim. This is in my attic. So if I had to count, I'm looking at a shelf in front of me. So I don't know. Let's say there's about 18 to 20 Sfarim per shelf. And in here,
How
let's see
many
how many are.
shelves you
Well,
have?
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I do good quick math. And behind me is a lot of history and academic books and so
Well,
on.
well,
But
well,
that's
well, well.
Sfarim.
Okay, yeah.
I'll say one thing. I'll add one thing. I mean, one secret, I guess, so to speak, or it's not
Tell
really
those
a
people.
secret.
Tell the people what they want to know.
I am someone at this point in the past couple years. I'm interested in history and I'm interested in Sfarim. My tastes in Sfarim are older, really freely good Sfarim, as they say, not high-tech Sfarim, not your classical yeshivish stuff now. So a lot of that stuff I got rid of. So I don't need it. That's not something I'm
Right.
interested. It's not something I'm going to use. So I have meaning Rishonim, tons of Rishonim, early Achronim, good new editions of that. I have tons of that. So I don't have as many Sfarim as you'll think because I got rid of Sfarim and I get rid of books as well. It's necessary. I have so many books and so many Sfarim. You can talk to my wife about it. There's books you're showing up.
I still never forgave you. You posted a picture one time giving away Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch's collected writings, and I haven't forgiven you for it.
I have a lot of her stuff. But yes, if you'll see like the amount of books that show up here, I think if I come home and there's not a book delivered at the front door in the mailbox, there's a problem. There's usually a book, a free book, or a book on order delivered here. So I have to get rid of things, and I do get rid of things all the time.
That's cool.
But yes, I do have a lot of books.
Well, you should just open up. You should just open up the Seforim Chatter bookstore online, and then all the free books. You could just move them quickly right out the door, or maybe put them.
That's right. Not just on the WhatsApp status. All right.
Tell us your most priceless book. No, I have a better question. Let's frame the question with a little bit more drama. There is a intense moment where you need to flee from your library with your family, and you can only grab one sefer from your library, from your attic, from your shelf. You have to go grab one, and you can't think which sefer you're going to grab.
Springing this question on me without preparing me beforehand.
I didn't put this in the notes.
So no, you mean by which is okay. It's good. A spontaneous answer. So priceless. Are we talking about dollar wise, or we're talking about just personal value?
Yeah. This is you can't think. There's too much.
I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna give you an answer. So I don't know. I'm gonna be a cop out. My favorite sefer. If you tell me I'm just fleeing, I need to grab a sefer. I always revert to my Shem Agdalim, the Chida's bibliography. It's full of information, history, Torah. It's fascinating. That was what opened my mind to the world of Jewish history, and so that's what I'll always revert back to. Again, it's not a price, it's not an antique, and I have those as well. But that's not something that if you're asking me what am I, that's what I'm going to go grab.
Amazing. No, that's everyone's got like a romantic sefer, something that they just love.
Hopefully.
They know. Hopefully. I don't even own a copy of the Shem Agdalim. I always thought it was just less of a list of names with insertions explaining what each one of the names of these rabbis are or is.
A lot of it, but it's not all of it. So he has different in the beginning. He'll have talking about why do we not see any Tanoim? Remember he talks about Avram and repeats like he says why don't you have? So he goes through names. He talks about like he goes off on a whole tangent about what you can name, and he quotes the Mapit says that you're not allowed to name anyone before Avram Avinu. So you can't have a kid named Adam or Noach. And so the question, and they're like, where did you get this from? What are you talking about? Of course, that's not and so on. When he talks about the Shalosh Shuvas Min HaShamayim, one of the Bali Toises, who would ask questions and he would get an answer. He would put the question under his pillow. He'd wake up, he would have an answer in the morning. He goes through the whole thing of Torah Lebeshamayim. How can you ask a question? You can't paskin from that. So there is Torah there besides many stories. He'll go off when he's talking about various Gedalim. Then so it's a fascinating work. I'm not your typical in that degree. It's not like a classical Yeshivish Sefer, but it's a fascinating, very important work.
Totally. We at the Motivation Congregation podcasts follow the derech of Reb Aaron Lopiansky in almost all hashkafa matters. In every hashkafa matter, he talks about everything, and he's also he's how do you say when a great Torah sage is also so scholarly and so intellectually honest, and every time that he gives these once monthly historical documentaries about the great rabbis, working their way all the way back from Tanoim, Amoraim. He was working through all the great rabbis in Sfas, and now I think he's up to the Ramah. He just dropped a podcast, but almost every historical source or every episode, Rabbi Lopansky will say, well, where do I get my information from? And far and away, the number one source for all historical facts and information, and one of the only places that we actually can trust, is the Shem Haggadah. That's where it comes in cross paths. How do you find all your podcast guests and hosts? How do you find it? You just reach out and DM people? A lot of times also when you jump on the episode, it's like you're best friends with the people because you just start and say, wait, I'm going to do an imitation of you. You start and say, okay, Mr. Safari, welcome. Please tell the listeners a little bit about you and where your background's from. That's how you start, right? So you start episode, something like that. I forget. How do you say it? Please tell the
tell us
listeners
a little bit about yourself and your background. Yes. So this just came to be, that question, first of all. And I started asking. In the beginning, there was like 1 or 2 episodes I didn't ask it. And the listeners were like, well, you didn't ask it. I want to know about this person, or he didn't answer a lot or whatever.
Put it on a t-shirt and a bumper sticker. Seforim Chatter with the colors. What is the sentence?
That was our Purim costume this year. This Seforim Chatter. My kids wanted to be Seforim Chatter. We dressed up like Seforim Chatter. But I will answer your question like this. You're asking a personal question. Where do I get all the guests from? So it's really ideas, and some of it is crowdsourcing, people suggesting ideas, even people emailing me, hey, I want to be a guest. What do you think about it? Whatever. And some of it's just ideas, and I'll just blindly email. Yeah, I'll email a professor, I'll email whoever and say, hey, do you want to come on? Now, I found in sometimes people ask me, well, how'd you find that professor's email? Well, it's public information. Just go onto the university page or try to find it. Not everyone, a lot of them. I find lately it's getting harder, maybe because I know for myself, the AI and these bots just send you crazy emails all day. So you ignore a lot of blind emails. So I think sometimes people don't answer me. So what I'm trying to do is, like, if there's a new book, I'll ask the press, can you reach out to that author? I'm interested, see if he's interested or she's interested. I'll reach out to someone that I might know that that person, just because it got a little harder. But generally, yeah, I just email them and listen, at this point, it's an established known entity. So people generally know me when I email them, or people reach out or make suggestions. So it's easier at this point.
How come you don't? I have a referral, I think, coming your way. You're a real estate attorney. How come you don't promote your services on your Seforim Chatter podcast?
Negligent. I should. You should. If you're doing any real estate in New Jersey, come to Weinstein Law Office, PC. You can reach out to us. So yes, they definitely.
You can also, if you're gonna plug yourself, I'm gonna plug myself. First, you should reach out to the realtor at Michael Brook at ImperialNJ.com, and then after that, you'll say that you heard about us through this episode, and then I'll forward you when we need an attorney review over to Seforim Chatter.
Yes, but that's a valid question.
Okay. The reason for the episode, why I wanted to bring you on, is because far and away, no Sefer has been published in more editions, more frequently, more voluminously than the Haggadah. It's unique, the Haggadah. We're coming up to the Pesach season, or Hirsch calls the spring holiday. And it's interesting. We get a manuscript. We get a instruction and directions on how to go about the entire Pesach season and to give over the Torah, to give over mitzvos. And the Haggadah may be the most unique and awe-inspiring Jewish sefer ever produced. And I wanted to bring you on to ask you about your top 10, that's how they do in social media world. I want to hear about your top 10 all-time favorite Haggados. I want to hear from a Seforim buff, from the weird Haggadahs to the silly Haggadahs to the most exciting Haggadahs to the ones that deserve honorable mentions. I want to start from 10, and then I want to work our way to number 1. And hopefully this way, the goal will be that people will learn about new Haggadahs, because people are constantly buying Haggadahs. Maybe people will learn about new insights from Haggadahs that they already have. And ultimately, I would like to infuse a bit of Torah and some perspective in it so that there is some real Torah content here, because we are talking about Pesach and Haggadah. And in order to make us have criteria to have the top 10, I don't know if you want to. I actually put the ball in your court. What did you have as the criteria for one of a Haggadahs to become part of your top 10 list?
So when you initially approached me with this podcast and you gave me that question, I was trying to think top 10. I said maybe top 5. It's hard to come up. That's like a number, I don't know where that number comes from, like top 10. So what I was thinking is exactly. As I was preparing for this, if you don't mind, I'm going to tweak the question a little bit in the sense of,
do it.
your question is acceptable, but in the sense of I don't think there's a top 10, whatever. And I'm not one to judge and be like that's the best Haggadah or this Haggadah. I think for personal use, I'll change it for personal use, and I think what people can benefit from. And so I have two piles next to me. I'll talk about. I have Hebrew and English, ones that personally, and there are many others that I don't have in front of me that I have on a shelf over there and that are fascinating, very important. Every year, try to look at a different Haggadah. I will add one more thing, my personal
caveat, right?
One more caveat here, which is I am not a fan of Likutim in general, whether that comes to anything. I know that they're super popular, and I'm not here to detract from that. But what I'm saying is personally, go to the source. Take a primary source, read the primary source. So when it comes to me and what I'm going to recommend, I'm never going to recommend a Likud. Could be that Likud is phenomenal and that you will benefit and you'll really enjoy it. But I'm just not going to recommend it. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. I'm not going to recommend that book. So
love it.
Just
love it.
That.
Love it.
That just knocks out many Haggadahs, okay? That I just knocked out. Maybe the bulk of them. So that's first of all, okay? I want to mention that. Now, I have some English ones and I have some Hebrew ones. I don't know who's going to be listening. I just want to pull out some recommendations personally. So I can start with the English. You want me to go from bottom to the top?
I want to start with the one that's on that. Let's start from to your right hand. You have two sections from your right hand. The top book that'll come in at number 10. The top safer.
So I did it the other way. So the top book would be like my number one. So
don't give it away. So let's start from the left hand on the bottom or wherever you set it up.
Okay, so the bottom ones are just some fun ones that I think because again, for me, there are so many that I'm not. I'll give an example. I'll just give an example before I start with the number 10. Like the Aruch HaShulchan's Haggadah. The Aruch HaShulchan, who's a big Pesach, wrote a Haggadah. It's a wonderful Haggadah. It really is, and he goes through the Haggadah. I don't have it in my must-have, the Netziv as a Haggadah, Imre Shefer.
Right.
Really in depth, a really wonderful Haggadah. The Netziv,
Maisa Nisim, right.
One of the more classic Haggadahs. I didn't include that here. Doesn't mean I didn't go. I actually never went through the whole thing. Looked at parts of it. Ma'is Hashem, Rabbi Elazar Ashkenazi. So there are many here that are not here. So it's like hard for me to say like top. That's why I'm like, there's a personal what I've gone through personally, what I enjoy personally. So okay. So I have a number of English ones.
Wait, we have to do a sound. I'm gonna do a sound like intro so that you can start for number 10. You know how they do it like on ESPN, like coming in at number 10, number 10. Yeah, what do we got?
So I think at number 10, you have to start with a basic, with the Maxwell House Haggadah. Maybe it's 10 star. I know, and I asked you in Virginia to go up with the Maxwell House Haggadah. First of all, there's a personal connection to the Maxwell House Haggadah. You can go back in the Seforim Chatter archives. I interviewed my uncle, Eli Rosenfeld, who is the CEO of Joseph Jacobs Advertising. They started the Maxwell House Haggadah with Maxwell's Coffee decades ago, and they still do it. The Maxwell House Haggadah, the current translation was revised, actually, I don't think it says it, but by my grandfather, Mr. Henry Frisch. May he live and be well. And so actually there's a personal connection there with that Haggadah. That's just a plain translation. I just want to give it a shout out. I think it's important to give it a shout out and to mention that Haggadah in the beginning.
Is it embarrassing that I don't actually know? I've heard of it and seen it. Is it embarrassing that I don't know about it at all?
A little bit. Because that's like the classic Haggadah. You go to ShopRite, you buy products, and they give you the Haggadah. That is like the Haggadah that's the most popular Haggadah in history.
Meaning it's your favorite because it's the traditional Haggadah that will...
It's not my favorite. I think it's 10 star. It just has to exist. It has to be mentioned. There's a personal connection. It's very important.
It's like the Stone Chumash or something. It's just...
It just is. It just is. It just is. I actually have another one that I want to mention and I want to give a shout out to that really, really doesn't qualify as Haggadah in some sense. But I think when we talk about Pesach night and it's Kaddish Yishalu Atinaikis and we want to keep everything entertained. So, I mean, we're doing this. The video will be accessible, I think, Michal, right? And there's also the audio. So I want to put it. We're going to put this on Seforim Chatter, put this on the Motivation Congregation. So I want to just do both. But Mosaica Press printed a few years ago. They printed the Lego Haggadah. Now, I wanted to give a shout out to what is the Lego Haggadah? Well, some guy, his name is Sachi Rosman, I want to give him a shout out. He went and he took Lego and he created a Haggadah based on Lego. So it's literally, the Haggadah is literally going through that Haggadah. Each part is with Lego mentions. That is literally what the Haggadah is. So in some sense, it's like, Nachi, that's ridiculous. That's not a Haggadah. What are you talking about? No, but it has the text of the Haggadah with the pictures of the Lego. And I think I like to bring it out by the Seder. I think the kids really enjoy it. And if you have little kids, I think it's something that is kind of bring the Haggadah to life in some sense. I happen to like that Haggadah. Again, we're not into the commentary part. This is totally different of like when we're talking about comparing it to like Lahavdol, the Maasenisim of the Nesivos. But I happen to think this is a really nice Haggadah that really does add. When I first saw it, I was like, this is crazy. I remember when I put it on the first shot, this is ridiculous. But the more I thought about it, I was like, no, actually, this is nice. it's trying to fill a very specific need, but I think it's nice what it's trying to do.
Love it. That's what makes you so bright in that. And you're a man of many colors. You have the Maisa Nisim Haggadah right next to the Lego Haggadah. That really brings out the character there. That's weighing in at wait. That's not number 9. That's just what is that? Is that number 9?
We can go however you want.
Well, the Lego Haggadah. If it's official, it's official. Number 9, the Lego Haggadah. That sounds fantastic. Shout out. Who put it out? Mosaic Press?
Yes.
They're so good. The Haber family, Shui's amazing. Rabbi Haber was one of the Haber family members. It was a Rav in Norfolk, Virginia, where I'm from. He put out a Haggadah, an incredible Haggadah. One of the things about Haggadahs, I hate to get off topic for a second, is some people write so much and that you can't actually miss out on the actual words of the Haggadah. Okay, I don't want to talk about myself.
No, absolutely. I think usage. So I want to let's go to number 8, right? Let's go to another one. Another one that I want to give a shout out is to
number 8.
Is to my friend David Bashevkin. He put out a Haggadah a couple years ago that just one thought-provoking idea on each section of the Passover Seder with NCSY. And my wife uses this Haggadah every year. I don't use this Haggadah. So this is like number 8, but this is like my wife's Haggadah. She really, really enjoys this Haggadah. It's the NCSY Haggadah, so you can imagine like who it's geared towards. Mm-hmm. But it's really fun. It's got these really fun illustrations and images, and it's kind of incorporates some very lightly like pop culture and things like that. And it makes it feel very relevant, I think, and the images are nice. Again, it's something that I think is very enjoyable to use. And as the listener can hopefully see, I'm going for Haggadahs that I think are, when I thought of this, is ones that you can use and usage-wise. I'm not going for if we're talking like top 10 Haggadah,
most purchased or
First of all, but even like the greatest Pirushim, like I said, who am I to rank that? I think that's ridiculous. I'm not qualified to rank them. I'm talking about like Haggadahs that you're going to use and things like that.
The Rambam wrote a Haggadah at the end of his Hilchos Pesach, right? So you're going to rank the Rambam? It's kind of
correct. You're not going to rank Haggadah. It doesn't make any sense. I'm just saying things so I happen to like that one. I want to mention, if you want to go to number 7, I actually don't have it with me.
Number 7.
I want to think that most people think is like, and maybe this should be number 1, by the way, but let's just say it's the Little Measure Says Haggadah. I think for many people, this is the number 1 Haggadah. It's a phenomenal Haggadah. It's not in front of me. Absolutely phenomenal Haggadah. I don't have it in front of me. I couldn't find it. It's somewhere in my house. That is, I think number 7 or number 1. I think that's just an absolutely
all the Little Measure Says stuff. That's what I grew up on. I don't know if you have it, and you grew up in Lakewood.
Yes.
I don't know if you have it. We had this thing called like groups, like during Musaf, where the Kinderlach would run out and one of the members of the community would bring everybody back, and we'd play Gaga and eat bubble gum and listen to stories about the Parsha. And it always was based on the Little Measure Says. And some of the most foundational points of the Parsha came through there. It was always well done and always share some of the most paramount points of that topic. So very nice selection, if I may say, at number 7.
Okay. So
6.
Okay, 6. So 6, I think, is just, I have to stick this in here. I don't know if it really belongs here, in all fairness. Maybe I should have picked something else, but I do want to mention the Sarajevo Haggadah. So the Sarajevo Haggadah is maybe the Sarajevo in Bosnia. It's maybe the most famous Haggadah in the world.
Well, talk to us as not scholars. It's just regular kids.
The Sarajevo Haggadah is a Haggadah that was discovered in 1894. It's a Haggadah that was written manuscript. There are many manuscript Haggadahs. This is from Spain. I believe it's 13th century. I could be wrong. Just going ahead. And this Haggadah was created by using exquisite craftsmanship, the art, the color, the images. It's an absolutely gorgeous Haggadah. I have a facsimile of it. It's absolutely beautiful. I actually did a podcast years ago with Professor Shalom Sabar, who's an art historian, on it. And you can see through the Sarajevo Haggadah like that the artist was actually incorporating various different midrashim going through it, and it's actually fascinating to see like which medrash they were going with as they drew the.
So it came out in the 1300s.
Yeah, again, it's not printed. It's a manuscript. There's no commentary. Right. It's just a illustrated Haggadah. There's some very fascinating things about it. One of the most fascinating things is in Maggid. I don't know if you can see it here.
Yeah,
everyone around the table. And there's this dark-skinned woman here that nobody knows who it is. It's actually in the subject. One of Geraldine Brooks's novels talks about it. Like, it's actually part of a novel. Like, everyone's trying to figure out, like, who is that in the Haggadah? What is that person doing there? Again, I don't think it's very necessary to include it. There's also the bird's head Haggadah, where the mystery of why everybody in the Haggadah has a bird's head in the manuscript. Maybe that's because you can't draw images of people. No one really knows. There's many other Haggadahs. These are I would basically, I'm taking the Sarajevo Haggadah in number 6 to lump it together with all these illustrated Haggadahs. There's something called illustrated Haggadahs. There's actually, the Holzer family has published the medieval illustrated Haggadah, where you can see they have 2 editions. One is just with illustrations. One also has the commentary of Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik, the Rav, and they included his commentary as well. And it's illuminated, illustrated. This was a thing in the Middle Ages, in the High Middle Ages. They would illustrate beautifully these Haggadahs, and they were very important. And remember, the Seder was the highlight of the year for many people. They would sit down, every family, right? Maybe in some sense that's why the Haggadah is the number 1 book, is because that is when every family leads the Seder. So for this reason, I just want to lump them all together and
So
just
cool.
give them all a mention. Now,
Does it have the same text, same script? Is it the same, like?
There's slight variations, but yeah, it's more or less the same.
And it's images by. Do we know if that person is a holy Torah scholar or just a good artist?
We don't know. That you could read up extensively on the Sarajevo Haggadah.
How much am I paying for it if I buy it?
The facsimile?
I don't know what word you just said.
Okay, so it means a photocopy. The Sarajevo Haggadah there's only one of them. It's housed in Sarajevo. It's priceless. The manuscript is worth millions. There's so you can buy, like, someone made high quality scans, photocopies on them. The one I have was done by the museum in Bosnia. I don't think it's available. I'll give a shout out to Menachem Butler, who sold copies a couple of years ago. I don't think it's around anymore.
Oh, wow.
It comes with a complete book analyzing all the arts and where it was coming from, the midrashim and all the history of it. It's a fascinating read by Professor Shalom Savar. It's just, I want to.
How do you read all of this? When do you work?
During the day. But I just want to say, I'm basically, again, lumping together many other illustrated, the Prague Haggadah, and then there's various Amsterdam Haggadahs, all the illustrated Haggadahs, manuscripts, and then print. I think there's a lot you can learn. And again, going with that whole theme of you can add on. So now I can go, where are we up to? Number 5, number 6?
I think that was 6, right?
So number 5, we can finally turn
Number 5
to a commentary. I want to mention Haggadah Pesach Ma'aser Rabbi Elazar, not Elazar, Rabbi Elazar Fleckless, who actually it's going to be his 200th yard site now, and I actually recorded a 3-part miniseries on Rabbi Elazar Fleckless. That series was actually sponsored by Mechon Netzach Yaakov, who published this Haggadah. They did a phenomenal job. Rabbi Fleckless was a Talmud Muvak of the Nahi Yehuda. He's the Nahi Yehuda's prize student. And he has a number of Seforim, Tshuva Me'ava being the most famous. That's his Shalos HaTshuvas, his responsa. And his Haggadah is really just wonderful. Like everything that he does, he was a wonderful writer. He wrote B'Melitza, so he would weave into his words quotations, like the Chidah, quotations from Tanakh and from
that only if you're a scholar that you pick up that.
It's hard sometimes to read. Right. Yeah, and so it's really.
What language is it? Regular Hebrew?
Regular standard Hebrew. It's a wonderful, wonderful Haggadah. It's got a green cover. You can buy in Meiser Rabbi Elazar. It's quite very, very enjoyable Haggadah. It's not. You have to get used to his writing, that flowery style writing of Prague. But once you're used to that writing, it's very enjoyable. Highly recommend it.
Wow. And well, let's just say if we open up on that Haggadah, read us one line from. I'm always interested to hear. Like, of course, there's a lot of ink to spill about Maggid, but what are their comments? Let's say, is he writing about Nirtza? What does he say about Chad Gad Yah? Does he have something that?
So many Haggadahs don't talk about Chad Gadya because it's a much later edition, right? It's not really standard part of the Haggadah text.
Is it not? That sounds controversial. It's in my Haggadah.
Well, it's there, but it's a much later song, right? It's a later edition. So many Haggadahs don't have it, and most Mefarshim don't talk about Chad Gadya. And it's a whole interesting song.
I thought it was that the Gra says that this is.
Yeah, but it's not like your standard. He actually does have a little bit on Chad Gadya, but actually, this is an interesting. He has a little bit of an interesting kind of piece. So, but yeah,
you would not like to share with us.
It's kind of, I'll have to go through it. I want to go through it and then share it with you. But that's a different kind of piece. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So that's coming in at number 5. Was that 6 or 5?
5.
That was 5. Wow. We are breaking into the more exciting and anticipated 4, 3, 2, 1.
If you want to, here, I'll give you an example for my Rabbi Elazar. Just I'm taking from my highlights here, what I highlighted and noted here. So where he's talking about in the beginning of Maggid, he says, right, if Hashem would not have taken us out of Egypt. So what does he says? So again, this is the middle of a piece. So there's other parts that he's saying, but just taking out a snippet. This is what the Maggid is telling you. He's being medactic. He's trying to tell you, If Hashem didn't take us out, Ratzalemer, meaning to say, Hu ba'atzmai, God himself. Elo al yedei shluchei shel hamakim baruch hu, Hashem sent a shliach. Al yedei malach, he sent a malach. Oy al yedei saraf of a chedayim, he sent a
emissary.
The shibud would possibly come back. A redemption, a geula that's not done by HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself is not chalut, is not a definite geula. So therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself had to take us out, and that's and he keeps going. And
Hu ba'atzmo daika. It's dafka.
Yeah. It's a very gishmakadik. Just pointing out one little thing. Just to mention one little thing, and there's many other. Again, it's a very fun, but I'm saying it's a very, very enjoyable Haggadah. Right, another part. He says, and you can see like his language here. Shaila achas ketana anoichi shoyel b'gdoilehi elai. I have one little small question. It's great by me. Lama losses toidel. Why do we give thanks to God? The Loimer and say. Right? If Hashem didn't take us out, we would have been mishovet, etc. Do you think Chalila Hashem's not going to remember the bris? He made a treaty with Abraham, right? I'll take you out of time. You think Hashem for this?
He's not going to pull through?
He promised he's going to do it. Hashem promised, right? He said, after 400 years, God promised he has to take the Jews out. There's no choice. Right. He doesn't have a choice.
So what's the big shvach? Right.
He says, etc. Right. So he says, Venera, and then he explains.
Yeah, give it to us.
Hevdel, the hefresh. There's a big distinction. If the Eved leaves B'rotzen Rabbi with his master allowing it, the master has to, he's forced against his will to redeem him. There's no choice. Hashem promised, so he's got no choice but to take us out. And he goes on, and you can read on, and he says, now he says, now you can see the Maggid. I skipped a paragraph, but I just
right.
The next one. And the new Haggadah did a beautiful job. They bold the part of the text, and then they don't.
I love that.
Text
I love that. We need that.
Let's say Pare would have sent this out because Hashem made it. It would be a shibud, not a avdos. We would be mishabed. Then he says that similarly, the Ma'is Hashem we mentioned was Ashkenaz. He said it and so on. So again, just a little snippet. I'm not doing it justice. It's a wonderful, wonderful Haggadah. Highly recommended.
Totally love that. Amazing, and I love that there's such diversification. Your chart toppers and vanguards are incredible. We're moving on to number 4. Yeah.
Number 4 is actually the topic of my podcast.
Number 4.
This coming week. Sorry. And again, it's following in the same theme we were doing with the English, which is this is not the most groundbreaking Haggadah that ever existed. It's not the most, super commentary on the Haggadah. But this is the Haggadah Pesach Alei Zayis of Machon Alei Zayis. Rabbi Shimon Shemanowitz wrote this Haggadah himself.
He's great. Every time you have him on, I listen from beginning to end.
He's a great speaker, right?
He's great.
So this Haggadah, what's wonderful about it, and you can listen to the podcast and you can hear, I've used this Haggadah multiple times at the Seder, and that's why it's here. What he did was, and he'll do a better job.
Wait a second. That's got to be a likut.
It's not a likut.
This violates the rules. It's not a likut.
It's not a likut. What it is he takes each part and he tries to, before each passage, tell you what's the history, where's it from, what's its basic background of each part. And then if you go through the Haggadah, right, the Haggadah is a compilation of drushes, and many of them are drushes and psukim. So I have it in front of me, right? Seilumad, my bikish lovan arami, lasas liyakavinu, etc. And then we get up, and then now comes the pasuk. Arami avid avi, vayir and mitzrayim, vayargon shamim seima'at, vayisham l'goy, gadol atzim v'rav. Now, if you just read a regular Haggadah, it's just a run on. You just read the Haggadah. You're reading Maggid.
Right.
However, he wants you to understand that there's a pasuk. So the regular text above, he has there's a little indentation. It says Doirish me'arami oividavi, and then after that, he's going to have the text. The entire pasuk's going to be in an italic. In mine, it's gold, and it's silver. Then later on, he's going to have each pasuk is going to be slowly bolded. So let's say Vayered Mitzrayim, that's going to be in the metallic color. Oh no, Sapiyadibur. Now you can tell that is a drasha. This and then it says Shenemar. Logor ba'aretz banu. So we'll have that whole pasuk is in silver, but the word Logor
without it, it's just a big long run-on.
It's a mush, and you have no idea what you're reading. You're just like, you're just running through Maggid until you get to the next Dvar Torah. But if you think about it, that's not what Pesach is, right? That's not what the Seder is. You are supposed to and that you're supposed to go through each passage, and you're supposed to read each piece and supposed to understand the. So it's a wonderful Haggadah in that sense. There's some essays in the back. There's some Mefarshim in the back. It has some like Malakit. He brings down some Divrei Torah. He's kind of so that just for the usage, I think, and each part he tries to bring you.
I love in the great realm and the bobbing and weaving of the what people are interested in publishing Seforim, right? There was the hundreds of years of when yeshivish Seforim and everyone is involved in be medaik the Rambam, and there's hundreds of years where we're obsessed with halacha, and and there's great years where we have the rishonim and the Chachmei Provence and the Chachmei Sfar. There's different niches of Seforim that became popular in a Mahalach Halimud in different times during our diasporas as a Jewish people. And over the most recent 5-10 years, I am so much enjoying that. It seems like we kind of got very involved in Drush and Haggadah, in for the Haggadah, in-depth mystical things. And it's very exciting how a lot of the Haggadahs are kipshuto. It's very exciting when, like this type of Haggadah, where we're getting back to the basics. We're trying to understand vosh, state, duh. There's the Haggadah kipshuta, and yeah,
100%. I agree. So now you want to go on to number 3? Cool.
Let's go on to number 3. Number 3.
Okay, the Haggadah Shel Pesach of the Gra, the Vilna Gaon. So the Vilna Gaon did not write a commentary on Haggadah. This is the commentary that was written down by his Talmud, Rabbi Nachman Mendel Shklov, and I think this is from the Gra by his Seder. I've used the simple Mosadav Cook edition, which has the Gra, and then Likutim, little collections from the Gra's other writings. That's not a regular Likud Sefer, by the way. That's other Gra's other stuff.
If it's the Gra, it's all allowed.
So I think the Gra, it's wonderful. It's light. It's easy. You can run through. It's systematic.
I never, in my entire 28 years of life, I never heard anyone say that the Gra Seforim are easy and light.
I didn't say this Gra Seforim easy and light. The Haggadah Shel Pesach, I think, is easy and light. I would say it's pretty sure. I'll give you a part that
Have you ever seen his Bear Hagra, where he says about
the Gra? Of course, I'm not saying the Vilna Gaon is easy. I'm saying the Haggadah. Again, he didn't write the Haggadah. That's his commentary. Let me read you some of. Let's talk about the Keneged Abarbanel to Torah. Right, 4 sons. Who are the 4 sons?
Wise, evil. One doesn't know what to ask, and the simple one.
Okay, so who would you say is it? Let's say 2 versus 2. What would you say?
I would say it's 2 versus 2. The one who there's an evil one, and the one who doesn't know how to ask is probably on the bad side, and the simple and the good one are on the good side.
All right, I'll read you from the Gra. Okay, it says mitzvah 4 times. There's 3 times in Parshas Boy and 1 in Parshas V'schana. And he says they're all changed and they're all different, and that's what's going on in the Drush. So we're not going to go through this whole thing; it's quite long. But I want to explain one part. He says, Chacham, hu Talmud Chacham. Okay? The Chacham is a Talmud Chacham. Vehepech mimenu, who's the opposite of a Talmud Chacham? Who's the opposite of a Talmud Chacham?
Someone who doesn't like to learn Torah. He's not a Mavakesh. I don't know.
Is that the opposite of a Talmud Chacham? What's the opposite of a Talmud Chacham?
A Talmud means a student.
So the opposite of a Talmud Chacham is She'enei Lishol. That's the opposite of a Talmud Chacham. He's not a Talmud Chacham. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's not a Talmud Chacham. It's not a tzaddik. I didn't say tzaddik. See, that's the Gra is going to come. You'll see. It's not a tzaddik. The Chacham in the Haggadah, according to the Gra, is not a tzaddik. That's a mistake. He's a Talmud Chacham. The opposite of a Talmud Chacham is like the Gra. Any day Lishol. Who's the other one? Vatam? Tam is hoilich betmimus. He's a Tomim. He's a tzaddik. That's what a Tam is. And who's the opposite of a Tam? A Rasha. There's a different reading of the Haggadah.
Wow,
the opposite
totally.
of him is the Rasha. And he says the pasuk in Eiv, it's a Tam and a Rasha.
You see that, right?
And he said, you have to read your Haggadah. When you get up to Abarbanel this year, Chacham, V'she'enei Lishol, Tam v'Rasha. You're reading wrong. You're reading the pasuk.
Put the comma in the wrong spot.
Right. So the Gra is different. The wording. Now, again, that's not the standard. Most of Persian don't say like this. I understand this.
Right.
Wow. Why? So, okay. The question is, hold on. Why does it say Chacham Rasha Tam She'enei Lishol? The order is wrong in the Haggadah.
Why Chacham Rasha? Right. Yeah.
We can't end with a rasha. We got to stick with there. You don't end off with a rasha. And now he goes through extensively, going through. I went through one year. This actually is my most heavily annotated Haggadah. I have notes all over this Haggadah. But I went through that. The Haggadah is a wonderful, wonderful Haggadah. There's some other wonderful parts of the Haggadah, but that's one of the big chidushim of the Gra. And and it's a
so who's number one? So
Haggadah.
the Tom is the good one.
Yeah, well,
that's
the Chacham too. The Chacham is Tam Chacham. But then he goes through, right? Ma'id is Achukim. The Chacham says Ma'id v'chukim mashpatim, right? So just to read you more, these are two shilas. The Gra says Ma'id v'chukim mashpatim. Behind Kiba Pesach is Gimel Yonim. There's three things: Eidos, v'chukim, u'mashpatim. That Pesach v'matz is Eidos. Kihein al nisim v'neflo is Ashal Hashem. Hashem did nisim for us. Asher hu eidos the whole boy olam shashchina shara b'Yisrael. That's the eidos that there was a shchina that Hashem was in charge of Klal Yisrael. V'amishpatim hentine hamitzvahs. V'amitzvahs atzmon k'moy al toichli mimenu na v'sharei dvarim hamurim ba'is ha'parsha.
Love it.
V'chukim hu ma shenemar v'zois chukas ha'pesach kol ben necher v'chulu.
Right.
That's his first question. Shal say shnia b'Pesach atzmon, Pesach itself. V'roi say she'im b'mitzvah zu kol Yisrael shavin. Right? Interesting.
Interesting.
So one is a chagigah, one doesn't have a chagigah. Aleph, one, like I just said. Beis,
wow. So this is a high level. This is a high level. This is not fair because there are going to be some people that are going to be on the level that clearly understand this.
Maybe I'm sorry. To me, again, I thought it's very easy wording. It's put together, but
no, it is. There's
some other wonderful parts by the Halacha Anu. It is really a lot here. I don't know how in depth you want to go with the Divrei Torah here on this Haggadah, on this podcast here, but it's really wonderful Haggadah. He has some very interesting concepts and very interesting things that he says in Abarbanel as well. It's really highly recommend the Gra's Haggadah.
The all of the you can only imagine that the Haggadah. Do we actually? Let me side note. Do we know who wrote the Haggadah?
No,
we have no idea.
No,
that's it. Just there's
It's
no
a compilation.
theories.
There's a lot of stuff that's in there's a lot from Mishnayos, Arei Pesachim, Drushes,
Midrashim.
It's a compilation. I'll quote Rabbi Shimon said on the Haggadah. He says, "Does anybody say who's the Baal HaSiddur? Who put together the Seder, the current Seder as we have in its current iteration?
Isn't it Anshe Knesset Haggadah?
But not in the current iteration that we have it today. That the core of the Seder, not the whole Seder.
Right.
So this is incredible. I mean, this is Judaism. This is Yiddishkeit. This is what we have. This is the Haggadah.
Got it. All right. There's a lot of different nuances of the Haggadah that only as I get older do I try to figure out why we do them. In your family, do you dip your pinky into the cup and take out some wine? You do that also?
Of course.
And by Yachatz, there's nothing exciting there. Everybody washes by you, by Orchatz, or just the Tata?
Everybody washes, but no bracha. Right? The Rishonim, but most of the Rishonim hold you're supposed to make a bracha, but we don't. Baltaisis, etc.
Right. Okay. Before we turn to our Halacha podcast, let's move on to number 2.
Number 2 is a personal favorite of mine. Many know I'm interested in and have an affinity towards Italian Jews and Italian Jewry. So I need to have an Italian. I enjoy them. I think they're interesting. They're unique. They're different. They were always
Seforino's Italian.
Seforino was many. They were cultured. They were enlightened in a sense. They knew many things.
Oh,
they spoke
enlightened.
Well, they were right. The Renaissance early. They spoke Italian. They Latin. You can.
Ramchal's Italian.
Yeah, the Ramchal is Italian. The Ramchal attended the University of Padua, right? The Ramchal went to university.
Right. I listened to that one.
So the Ramchal, there's a lot. Italians are very interesting. So and also okay. So there's a Haggadah published. Called Medrash Bechiddush. So this was written by a big Italian gadol named Rabbi Elazar Foa. He's a student of the Ramami Fano, not Pano, Fano, and Rabbi Nachman Fano. So this is actually, which is not my typical, it's, I would say, very, very, very light Kabbalah in here. And also with Pshat. It's a really wonderful, fascinating Haggadah. This was published by Machon Hoid V'Hodar. Volvi Gutman Reich published it. He's doing amazing work. He's actually working on the Sefer Gurin Arnon from this Gadol as well. They published a number of Svarim, but it's a beautiful edition. There's a lengthy introduction for those that like history. There's some fascinating history in here.
Introductions are the best. Anyone who's
They also published the commentary of the Kimchad Avishuna. So the Kimchad Avishuna was in the Machzer Minig B'nei Roma. Machzer Minig B'nei Roma is Rome. The Italian Jews have their own nusach. Okay, it predates Ashkenaz, and they have their own nusach. So in that Machzer, a commentary is written. It's anonymous. It's probably written by Rabbi Yochanan Trevis from Italy, and this is 16th century, and And so it's a compilation of Rishonim and other things, a very early Pirish. So they put a critical edition here in this Haggadah. So you can see the very nice commentary walk through, as well as the Rabbi Elazar Nachman Foa's Haggadah Pirish, as well as Likutim from him as well, from his Sefer Gur and Aaron and others. It's a really wonderful Haggadah. Just one thing to point out, I'll give you an example of how unique it is. There's something that's extremely unique in here. We know if you're still paying attention, you're not in a big rush to get to eat. At the latter point of Maggid, basically says, how do you know that the
You need the math brain for this one.
So what were the 50 Makkahs that happened? We only know about the 10. What were the 50? So Rabbi Medrash B'Chiddush goes through every single one.
All 50?
All 50.
What? Give us some of them. What other Makkahs happened that we don't know about?
He'll explain to you, and he breaks down. It's written beautifully in the new one. So let's find a small one that we can read for the listener that they can understand. And he's darshaning really Az Yashir. Okay, that's where he's coming from. That's the basis for a lot of that. But before also.
Like meaning when Klal Yisrael is Vayitzak El Hashem and Mitzrayim is there and some other form of punishment also happened that's not included in the final cut of
right. Right. Even before they went into the Yam Suf, even has. So he says he'll have over here. Let's take this one. The whole night, right? Haruach has a bilbulam v'shamamam. They didn't know where they were going.
Blind.
These are from other psukim for the. Okay, we'll just do that. Gabi Elisha, etc. This is Kuni, etc. and so on. So he says, lahu la'avdei melech aram k'mashma shevorin hazeh lo yibalahem mepnei achoshech shamarnu ki hasam holchem hayu ba'ar hayoim v'im kein afkan misheher hayoim royim hayu zeh. They saw each other avahim meshubashim machmas haruach azan is got a strong. He says harei kan mako kilelas kalamakas, many makas in here. Ivaroin simhon levov so that's another one. There's another pasuk. But Aman Ish Anan, there was a cloud, right? So the fire and the cloud. It was such a thick cloud. They thought they were going to be overtaken. Gets very right away. The clouds covering gets very dark. They get very scared right away. The in suffix shemitzuruf elav hayakoyles who broken veruach yam chazik ma'il.
So that's also part of the
of the yam. Bekamo layers roim yoru spreading. But noichi age apam echad irili dugmase. He says, I'm giving witness. It even happened to me at some point like this. So he's saying again, and he goes through each one. He gives you again. There is, like I said, some like the Kabbalah things in here. It's not in the sense of it's not just like straight. It's pshat, totally. But it's like it's a little bit So you're there. Like I'll give you for example, Abarbanel Leparoi, he goes with he says Dover Yedua, right? It's Dover Yedua in Medrash. Shekola Peres Hanul Katim Koidim Bishulam Inim Miskaimim V'Yirkavu, right? If you pick a fruit early,
right?
He says Va'af Oishim Since Batu Adi Ashka Gam Heim Lo Yarvu V'Yam Tiku
Interesting.
And so on. He says Kachu Gulasenu. Kishatei Biyasa Tiskayim because he Koidim Ita Yesh Lochash Letskayim. If it's too early,
it's not gonna last.
Won't last. In Amr Medrash Rabbah, and so on. So it's a lot of midrashim. Beautiful. It's a very interesting commentary. Very fun, very different. It's a wonderful. It should still be available, by the way, as well. I think
the Italian Haggadah weighing in at is that number 2?
Yeah, personal. Again, personal. I doubt that would be on many people's number 2, but in my personal.
No, but that's the godless of this is your top 10. This is something that before we get to number 1, because we have to bring in some sauce and make it exciting before we introduce it. Number 1.
By the way, for the listeners, hopefully number 1 is obvious, but go ahead.
Well, you're talking about Rabbi Yerucham's Haggadah? Which one are you talking about? You talking about Rav Hirsch's Haggadah? No, you must be talking about I don't know. I can't think of it. I can't think of it. Wait, before we get to number 1, don't reveal number 1. First of all, maybe we'll put in like a little commercial break here. So because you have to do it right before. We'll be right back with the show. But runner up. Give me the most rare Haggadah you've ever put your hands on. Rare.
Antique
rare Haggadah.
I don't know if any. I haven't come across many rare Haggadahs actually. Just sorry, cop that answer. I do want to give another shout out. So, like I said, I think some of the early ones lower down, 5 and on, like we're like not Pirushim and things like that. I said like I wanted to give a shout out to the Aruch HaShulchan's Haggadah, Lel Shemurim, wonderful Haggadah. I learned Aruch HaShulchan, love the Aruch HaShulchan. That's a great Haggadah. Another
I've
one
heard
is
you rant about that. I actually quote you one time. I think you said at one time that Reb Shmuel Kamenetsky told you that you can paskin with either the Kaf HaChaim, the Aruch HaShulchan, or the Mishnah Berurah, which whoever's the most makel.
No, I asked Shmuel when I was in Philly. He said, "Yeah, you're a Litvak." Aruch HaShulchan, Mishnah Berurah, Chayadam, whoever's the most makel, that's who you can pick. So
that's gold. That's gold.
Yeah, it is.
There
so
it is.
There's
and you got to get the red. You got to get the red Aruch HaShulchan, the Zevach red edition,
absolutely,
right?
yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple other Haggadahs that that I've used various different ones over the years. I want to also give a mention to the Ben Ish Chai's Haggadah. Also, there's a klal. At least I have this klal. If you see a sefer with a picture of the Gadol on the front, run far away from the book. It's probably not a real sefer, but the exception is the Ben Ish Chai. Somehow the Ben Ish Chai, sometimes the Chidah, but the Ben Ish Chai, if his cover, has to be like. So the Ben Ish Chai is
the Ben Ish Chai. The Ben Ish Chai is what's his name? Geber has a podcast about the Ben Ish Chai.
The Ben Ish Chai is
coolest, most brilliant. If you ever have a Shiloh in Haggadah, look at the Marsha, and then check out.
So the Ben Ish Chai is a vart. Emes Lamita Shaltor. He quotes someone.
What's it called? What's Haggadah called? Haggadah Ben Ish Chai?
You could find it in the Ben Ish Chai. It has a name, but I have it.
It's all called the Ben Yada. It's all after name.
No, it's a Ben Ish Chai, but it has a name for it. No, it has a name for the Haggadah. So his Haggadah in the beginning he says, Manashtana lesmi kol aleles. What's Manashtana? It's not a paraphrase. He said that the children come and they see you. You just start off the Haggadah. Holach ma'anya dechavasana kol dichvin yesiv yechol. Right? You tell everyone, come in, any poor man, come inside the house. So the kid goes, says, Tati, Abba. Whole year, the poor guy knocks on the door. And you say, hey, give him $1. Close the door. I don't want to give tzedakah. He says, now you're inviting them in? You tell them, come. You play tonight you're inviting that niyam into us?
It's great. Tati, all of a sudden you got kind?
Mom is emes lamita. I say this every Seder. I have a lot of hanah from this shtickle in the Ben Ish Chai. It's right in the beginning of the Ben Ish Chai's Haggadah.
Wow. Oh, I think that's going to be like the clickbait video image that we'll send around on social media. What a great chap. I love it. So Ben Ish Chai, we don't know what it's called, but that is another. What other mentions? Who else do you want to mention? Spanish, German, English, Russian, fellow followers, subscribers, interesting Haggadahs, expensive Haggadahs, Haggadahs that made you upset that you wish were never printed.
There's too many to name. So we're not going to go to the ones that made me upset because much of what's written on the Haggadah doesn't belong. Like I mentioned, listen, I gave a shout out to Lego Haggadah. In the beginning, I was like, Lego Haggadah? What was with the Lego Haggadah? But again, I think it's interesting. Do you remember the Lipa Schmelzer Haggadah back in the day?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that one. I'm sure many listeners remember that one. And there's many other such Haggadahs, even with Divrei Torah that are just like, what is this? But I'm not going to name names. We're not going to do that. We'll take the high road and we'll leave that part out. There are a number of other ones. One year I used Rabbi Shlomo Tawena's Haggadah. He was a friend of the Ben Ish Chai. He was a rabbi in Calcutta, India. He actually wrote a couple of different newspapers. And so in Judeo-Arabic, and they're publishing a number of his Seforim. They publish his Haggadah. It's just fun for me, like the story behind it. Like his Torah is nice and simple, but the story behind it, like this was a man, he was the rabbi in Calcutta, India, and he was writing newspapers and he was writing different Divrei Torah and the Haggadah. I think that's a fun Haggadah. I mean, there are a number of.
If I had a penny for every Haggadah that came out, that was called the psychological path to freedom.
That's
Haggadah.
A new thing. Don't get that. Okay, I said I'm not going to name names. Well, that whole genre, not for me. But I
just write the book and don't make it appear on the Haggadah.
I enjoyed the Haggadah, the Likutei Yosef Haggadah, which is the Rabbi Shamash Haggadah published a few years ago. There's a really, really cool Haggadah, if you want, which is the Haggadah, I think it's Beis Aaron, which was written by a Yid in Hungary. It was during the war. He was in hiding. He wrote, I believe, 7 commentaries. He just had no Seforim. He wrote a Haggadah. It used to be the Haggadah they sold was in the manuscript, and that was the way it was sold. And it was just all these, it's 7 different style commentaries, Al Cheshbin, and Lamdis, and Lacha. There's a new edition of it. It's a fascinating Haggadah. It's an amazing pirush, the different perushim, and the story is so moving. They found the manuscript that was killed in the war. It's amazing. I highly recommend that Haggadah as well. You know what? That one should have gotten in the top 10.
What's the name of it?
Revise it. I would remove one of the English ones into the Lego Haggadah, whatever the Maxwell guy. That belongs in here.
We'll make the Lego and Maxwell House Haggadah just kind of 10A, 10B, and then we'll put this one in here at number 9 or something. What's it called?
It's an absolutely. Hold on.
For those not watching with video, Nachi has stepped away to go get the sefer. He has returned.
The Haggadah Shel Pesach, Beis Avram, Beis Aharon. This Haggadah was written by Avram Aaron Friedman. Okay, and this Haggadah has, I'll read you the Mefarshim, actually 9. Agudas Ezaiv al derech Agoda, Agadata, Brechas Becheshben al derech Cheshben, Ruach Hadasha, which is Chedushim, Hadeya v'Hadiber Shitois v'Nuschois, so various textual changes.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Marble Saper, Likut mi Midrashim v'Sfarim, it's a collection of Midrashim, and then Beis Aharon has 4. Dvar Aaron al derech Pshat, Pe'er Aaron al derech Remez, Binas Aaron al derech Drush, Chochmas Aaron al derech Soid Paradise. And the new one is they did a beautiful new edition, but in the old one, I'll show you, this is how it used to look. You can actually buy them. Wow. You can check out the manuscript. Again, he was killed in the war. It's a wonderful Haggadah, the Haggadah Shel Pesach, Beis Avram, Beis Aaron. Fascinating Haggadah with many fascinating insights. Highly recommend. It is available for certain. And this is Haggadah. You want to pick up something unique. You want to bring something with a story and something with a really geschmack, a very interesting pshatim. Highly recommend this Haggadah. You can slot this in if you're editing or whatever.
Love it.
And if it's unedited, you'll just this should go in the top 10. Absolutely.
I love it. I want to point out one other one. I don't know where I saw it, but someone made a Haggadah for the Baal Abbas's leader of the Seder toolbook, as if the Tati is really supposed to direct the Seder in a way that's educational and informative and has stories for the children to get them to ask. But if the father is unlearned or frankly just very busy and doesn't have time so much to prepare, I did find a beautiful Haggadah, which is the preparation Haggadah, the Baal Abbas's toolkit. Another Haggadah that for people, the large print Haggadah. There's Braille Haggadahs. There are endless Haggadahs. I think this does bring us. Yeah, what do you got to say before we get to number 1?
So that's what it was. I mean, using the number 10 to highlight different, various interesting Haggadahs, more than I'm sure there are people will be like, you didn't mention this, you didn't mention that, so you wanted to mention. All right, let's do number 1.
Number 1, the number 1 Haggadah from Seforim Chatter, Nachi Weinstein's top 10 list is, let me guess. No, you tell us.
It's the GOAT Haggadah, the Haggadah Zevach Pesach of Rabbi Yitzchak Abarbanel. Unquestionably, this is the greatest Haggadah.
Why?
In my mind. It just is.
Why? Well, that's it. It's like you mic drop it. The Abarbanel is incredible. And you know so many Seforim. Tell us in one sentence why you love this Haggadah.
Full disclosure, I'm a huge fan of the Abarbanel. Always, all his works. But the Haggadah especially. First of all, it's the first printed commentary on the Haggadah. Okay, 1505, during his lifetime. He's in Venice. It's printed in Turkey. That's first of all. But it's just the GOAT. You know, I was mentioning to Shirley Bornstein, we were talking, and he's giving a Haggadah shir now, by the way. Shout out. Terrific shir on the Haggadah.
He's just he's unfair. He's a cheat code. You can't be Torah and Gedula b'makom echad. It makes all of us look bad. But either way, continue. Sorry.
And I said that the Abarbanel and Haggadah is like Ramban on Chumash. It's just that's how good it is. So the Haggadah Shel Pesach, and by the way, there's a brand new, wonderful new edition this year of Haggadah Shel Pesach Zevach Pesach. It's published by Rabbi Yeshua Yosef Goldberg. He's published a number of Haggadahs. The Ma'aseh Nisim. He's published the Ma'aseh Hashem. He did a really nice job. So he does a little overkill slightly, but it's a really good job. So the Zevach Pesach is Abarbanel's Haggadah. What he does is he lays out, his program is 100 questions. At the beginning of the Haggadah, he asks 100 questions, and then he works with the Haggadah to answer the questions. This is what he always does with the questions. Now, originally, there's a really nice edition by Moshe of Cook. Now, although Rabbi Goldberg points out that they use the wrong edition, there are various girsa changes that he says they didn't use the proper girsa in the new edition. Also, the one drawback is that Rabbi Elazar, what he did, it's 100 questions, then the answers. So you can kind of get like a little stock.
Taste of it, yeah.
Rabbi Goldberg left it that way, but he also includes the questions again next to the answer. So when you're actually reading that Haggadah, you can see it. But the Abarbanel also has a very moving introduction where he talks about being, expelled from Spain. It's quite moving, very interesting to see, very flowery. I'll just read you a snippet. He says,
"Rich, then poor, then rich, then poor. Save the Jews."
Right, correct. So he grew up in Portugal, Lisbon. And then he had to run away. Lost all his money. Went to Spain. Rose in power there. Had to leave an expulsion, went to Naples, rose in power, lost, ran away, Venice, died in Venice, very in Padua. So, but he says, he starts off that God, from a youth, Gudlani, I was raised with wealth and honor. Bayis v'hoin, nachlas avis, I inherited a house and wealth. Ume'ashem maila, urama in malachim, the yoatz, the eretz, bechatzrebu, b'tereis, I advise kings and their palaces. I mean, real kings, the power. Portugal and Spain is the powers of the world in the 15th century. V'hayizi karvel, I was close to them. Ve'aleimoi titov melasi ubetoich ami hoisafti al kol asher hayel lefanai, everything Torah gedula. He says, I had Torah gedula. Avodim, slavish, shvachis, and maidservants.
Wow.
Bayis oichli lachmit smari upishti. My bnei bayis, they ate wool and linen. Ki aver kotuvi alpi lo yadati suras. I didn't know the end. He had endless wealth and honor and prestige. I mean, you're talking. That's the greatest. You're thinking of Abarbanel. You're thinking of, this is the richest, most powerful Jew in your generation. He's also one of the biggest Talmidei Chacham Gedolim in your generation.
Unbelievable
Person. Okay, and then he says, Ki rodaf oyev Nachi melech Oritz ubetzea betza melech Portugal. He says the king of Portugal changed him out, and then he had to leave. And it says Hashem. He talks about Hashem. I'm skipping. Ha'adan Hashem tzvaka is choshev lahashkes choimas bas Sion golus Yerushalayim asher b'Sfarad. He destroyed the golus asher b'Sfarad. Hoya Hashem ka'oyev lahashmoid la'areg ula'abed is kol Yehudim.
Perm style.
He's using Malik. He changed down. Yishlach bom charon apoy. This is also right. Evro v'zam v'tzora mashlachas malachim mechablim v'ashlichim al eretz acheres the garshim base on Tanugim. He chased us out from our house of Tainug. The Jews of Spain had as well. Meretz Mugrayim v'tziu karach melem etc. And he says I was chased out and I kept going and he really writes on and on. He says and then he talks about, actually it's very sad. He says kisonei shalach amar Hashem tzvakois kisu as yisor defu menucha. Nosu es redido me'aleim gam be'beneim u'b'neseim hochav Hashem. They went and captured their children sons. Be'ineim royois ve'ein lekel yodam. They didn't have Hashem to save them. V'rabba me'am e'oretz. Many of the people ovru toiros, again plural. Cholfu oik ubom b'mayim hasdoinim. They came in the bitter water. What's that? Baptism. They baptized and converted to Christianity. Right when the expulsion from Spain, the degree in Spain, he says, "Afu all royals mehem me'amoinam yishalev oyalam l'shoidim," and so on and so. Then he says, "Kisayim ra'aye beis nadiv aye soifras asfarim aye shogapelas mazdim bishbedes hamaisim atom reicham shalchman." It's very, very sad to read the intro. This is a broken. Wow. I mean, broken in the sense. I mean, obviously, Abarbanel picks up on him. He's broken, but this is in 1505. He's writing this after the expulsion. And he says, "Nati Oimrim, hine yoim ba moyed and Pesach ul Hashem. Moitzi asirim beis avodim. Hashem took us out from avodim. Vini ata is doidim. Olai tishtapich nafshi tzara v'yogin emtza v'nafshi shemema roimama zacharti yom mikedem. I remember the days. Elem mayadi v'simchas pischi v'soyda lekah olai oli hoishi vadel kashleis zilazeisim etc. It's very moving to see. I mean, again, he's talking about the Gula. He's talking about it in the 10 questions, the 100 questions rather.
Amazing.
I want to read you question 10. He says, he said, some of the what's the 10th question? On Avodah Meyinu. Ki mahir vachnu, asked the Rabbi, what did we gain? Anshe Haggados kamaynu, us today in Golos Ayim, Kishiyotzav Esenim Mitzrayim, that we left Mitzrayim. L'shenomar to say, V'ilu to Kodesh Baruch Hu Mitzrayim, Adayin, Onu v'nei 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 v'shabbatim Ilu v'fanu Mitzrayim. Hashem didn't take us out, we would still be in Egypt. Ki ulahi yunu yoish from Sham b'shavel, Mishiv Zene b'Golos Edom Yishmael. Maybe we would be better in Egypt than today we are in Rome, the Golos Edom and the Golos Yishmael.
Wow, what a powerful question.
And what our fathers said, we want to
go back to Egypt. It would have been better.
These are the people asking. They were broken people asking these questions. I don't understand. How are we reading this Haggadah? And what was happening to them? And he says, again, there's a lot here to go on. He has many different things. It's a fascinating Haggadah. And there's just also the Haggadah itself, just the commentary. I don't want to only highlight that. So there's a lot of it's very famous because he's like the OG. So sometimes something is so famous that it's no longer exciting because it's so part of the classic Torah parlance. So some of it. So he goes, Holach Mani, right? Why do we start in Aramaic? That's the first question. Why in Aramaic? So he says,
right.
Okay, first of all, he says the first answer that he says is he brings different answers. So some say, because the Mazikin don't understand, right? We know this answer.
The demons
don't understand. The demons don't understand Lashon Kodesh, so they don't understand Aramaic. They don't understand Lashon Kodesh. So we say in Aramaic that they shouldn't have reshus to come in. So he says, I don't agree with that.
Well, the Malachim also don't understand Aramaic, right?
He says one, b'mitzias hashedim. He has an issue with the mitzias of shedim.
Oh, I love it. I love this.
First of all, I have a problem with this. Right, and the Rambam in Morning has the issue.
Right. And dealing with magic. And
he has a problem. I don't agree with this. And second of all, you're telling me the demons understand only Hebrew, not Aramaic? I got a problem with that too. Third of all, that they don't come to shepherd with you only if they have permission. Like the son is being av. The evidence no. He says no. See, he doesn't like this pshat. Okay, and he quotes Chazal, whatever. He doesn't like this shot. He says some people say Aram David Avi because that the Malach HaSharis shouldn't understand, and then they shouldn't start saying Shira Tashem. So the Malach HaSharis also, no, they shouldn't start saying Shira. So that's why I don't understand. He says also don't understand this because then it should have said Behalal Shushir Michzai Lazeh. That should say the Halal. Why about this? And etc. He has very different things, and it brings other answers because he wants to say why is the answer. I think many know this. He said, what do we say? We say, Kol dichrin yesev yechel, kol dichrin yesev v'yifsach. When was this misakin? Where were we living? We were in Bavel. What are you saying? Poor people come and eat. What do poor people understand? They speak the vernacular. They speak Aramaic. They need to understand what you're saying. So you say it in Aramaic. But then after that, you move on to Lashon Kodesh.
Beautiful.
So that's his answer. But there's some other one that they call halach ma'anya. So he goes with the pshat that because we ate matzah in Mitzrayim. I think the Maral doesn't like this. No, there's a big machlokes. He says there's many Rishonim say this. They were fed. They gave them matzah. I believe he also says, just going from memory, that also because he says it gets, as we all know, it gets stuck in your innards. Matzah is hard to digest. So he says,
that's what he says.
He calls it lechamoini as well. That's another reason lechamoini.
Right. My friend's father says in the 4 cups of wine, the 5th cup is prune juice. That's what he says.
Yeah, there you go. So then another thing he says, he talks about the Maisa, right? We get to the story. Maisa, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shua, Rabbi Elazar, where were they? For him, a super b'nei Brak. Where's Bnei Brak? It's not Bnei Brak of today. Where was
not
where
the Chazon Ish set up shop? No.
Where's Bnei Brak? What does the Abarbanel say? Fancy cushions. They were sitting on pillows. Bnei Brak is Meshi. It's silk. The whole drush.
Bnei Brak is fancy cushions.
Was no place. It was. That's where they were sitting.
Beautiful.
He says again. It's just, there's so many things, but I'm just picking out some interesting things. But the Haggadah, he goes through the Haggadah line by line. He works through. Anyone that's familiar with Abarbanel on Chumash, he works through line by line. He really goes through the Haggadah. So this was when I went the first time I went through the Haggadah Be'in. I was in first year base measures in Philadelphia Yeshiva. I had this Masada Haggadah. I really went through a lot of the Haggadah, and it's again the new one is available in the stores. Highly recommend the new one. He did a great job, and just in general, the Abarbanel Haggadah is just. I think more people know Abarbanel. It's just the issue, obviously, is it's too long, right? The joke is
amazing. That's what I was gonna say.
You know the joke. The guy read the questions every week, and then he fell asleep, so he was left with only questions on the Chumash. Yeah, that's the joke.
What is that? Wait, what is it? What is it? What is the bridge?
Why the guy go off the derech because he read Abarbanel every week, and then he fell asleep after the questions. He never got the answers.
He never got to the answers. Exactly. The Nebuch. The Abarbanel is we be lost without the Abarbanel. But yes, it is hard for me and my short attention span sometimes to get through the questions and the list. But that is quite the unguessable and astonishingly outstanding list of the top 10 Haggadahs. Where do I buy the Haggadahs? Where do you buy your Haggadahs? Where should we go purchase them?
So
online? Can you get them all?
I mean, I hope they're not all available. Seforim, I buy many Seforim. Give a shout out to Beagle Eyes Bookstore in Borough Park. You can message them on WhatsApp, call them. Seforim here, Judaica Plaza, on Lakewood, or on the Berman, wherever it is that you buy Seforim.
Got it. Amazing, Nachi. Before I get into the next questions, I got to end the episode because otherwise it's going to be longer than an hour and a half. I have so many more questions to ask you because each sefer and each author is its own world, and that's the beauty and godless of Torah and the Torah creativity. This was fantastic. This is amazing. I hope that everyone will get excited about the unique Haggadahs that you brought. I hope that people will get upset because feedback's a gift, and when someone comes heated, it's exciting that they say, "Hey, why'd you talk about Lego Haggadah? Or how could you talk about this Italian Haggadah?"
Come at me with that. Let's go. Yeah, let's hear the feedback.
Exactly. You know what makes
I was trying to show again. My point was I wanted to illustrate top 10. Again, these are not the top 10. The Lego Haggadah, the MTSY Haggadah, they don't belong in top 10 Haggadahs of all time. It's just I want to illustrate various different Haggadahs I think are important, worth highlighting, and Haggadahs that are for use at the Seder. Again, why I mentioned the Ali Zayis Haggadah. I think it's useful Haggadah to use at the Seder. You're going to learn beforehand. If you're going to learn Haggadah, you want to learn Haggadah, we're talking Abarbanel, Maisa Hashem of Lazar Ashkenazi, Maisa Nisim of the Nesives, we're talking the Nitziv, Imre Shefer, Lel Shimurim of the Aruch HaShulchan.
Maral, right.
Maral doesn't have Haggadah, right?
Is it Gvurah Hashem close enough?
Gvurah Hashem. Yeah, and there's a Rabbi Lapiansky has that great edition where they put it together on the Haggadah. So you get that, of course, the Gra, like I mentioned, Rabbi Elazar Fleckless, and others, and there's so many others that I'm not mentioning. So again, exactly. That would be the way to go through that. Haggadah, unquestionable top 10, be different top 10. I'm just top 10 personal use, personal interest, personal use, and so on.
Amazing. It's amazing. And I hope people, one last caveat, then we're going to end. Don't publish your own ideas on Reb Chaim or on Kelm, and then call it a Kelm or Brisker Haggadah. Somebody said Teiras Reb Chaim, and I was excited, but it's not. It's his own shtickle explaining. Anyway, sorry.
Something triggered you. Some
Haggadah. I paid like $30 for Reb Chaim's Torah, and I got his Torah. Whatever.
Listen, if you want, again, like I said before, you want me to be negative on Haggadahs?
No,
I could be very negative. I'm not going to do it, but there's a lot to be negative about various Haggadahs. But I will end with one thing, which that I think you mentioned before, like more than any other book, more than any other Sefer, there's Haggadahs. And listen, people buy them. Like people buy any idea. They're looking every year. They want something fresh. They want something new. They want something different with a new angle. And there's an interest. I did a whole bunch of small talks this year when I got this. And people listen to them. People told me they purchased them. There's interest. So there's definitely
Harbatas HaTorah, Ian HaTorah. It's all incredible. It's amazing. Nachi, thank you for your time. Everybody, go like and subscribe to Nachi's Seforim Chatter podcast. Find him. Hire him to be your real estate attorney. Make sure to listen to all of his episodes. Start from the beginning. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button to the Motivation Congregation podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the weekly Parsha podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the Kesef and Kenyan podcast, where I interview my father-in-law about all things real estate. Anyway, Nachi, I thank you for your time. Have a great night. I look forward to the next time I get to talk to you.
Thank you, Michal. And if this ends up being posted as well on Seforim Chatter, I'll link to all the Motivation Congregation various podcasts. For those who are interested, can go check it out and go check out your work and your WhatsApp status that I look at every day and your different channels as well. So thank you, Michal, for hosting me.
Very good. Very good. Have a good night, Nachi.
Good night.